Starting. Okay, we're recording. So, hello, people. Today we have here in Fanny's interview. Uh, I'm a big fan of him, and I bet a lot of people know him by the atheist community. David Silverman, thank you very much for accepting my invite and coming to talk to us about all your trajectory, your life and history.
Well, thank you for inviting me on, Fanny. I appreciate you having me on the show.
So I think for the people that maybe just passing by do not know who David Silverman is, he is like for me as a fan, a big name on the atheist community because I think like Devon and the atheist community like to say you are the atheist gangster.
Yeah.
You were like the proud atheist that brought up so much proud into being an atheist and stand for the morals, stand for objective morals and secular secular morals and secularism in general in society. That is so important to protect all the minorities. As atheists, we are also minorities, and the other minorities, other religious minorities that can be oppressed by the majority, of course. So can you tell us a little bit on how you got involved on the atheist, how you became an atheist, or how you kept yourself an atheist and became the president of American Atheist?
Sure, sure. So I've always been an atheist since I was a kid, and I I started debating in high school and college, and I found myself pretty skilled at debating in college. I went to Brandeis University, which had a lot of religious Jews, and so we would have a lot of debates. Then I got married, and when I was about 30, so it was 1996. There was a group, there was a fad religion called the Promise Keepers. And the Promise Keepers were a Christian group which was proudly misogynistic in nature. They wanted their people, they wanted their men to apologize to their wives for making them be equal partners in their marriage because God wants them to be subservient. God made them to be subservient. And so the men were supposed to apologize for making them be equal and instead allow them to be subservient to the husband. And of course, the wives are supposed to be all happy about this. Um, and so this thing happened. They had this huge march in Washington, D.C., and I went to it. And it was my first protest. And it was a big, huge march. They had like, 250,000 people. And we had like 20. And we were walking in a circle, and atheism was really, really, still out of vogue back then. It wasn't, we were still mostly closeted back then. And CNN came and they were filming us. And I remember the cameraman kneeled down in front of me, put his camera on me, and he went like this with his fist. And I said something, and I don't remember what it was. And it never aired, but I really liked it. It was great. I don't remember what it was. I just remember really being proud of myself for whatever came out of my mouth. And other people on the line heard me saying whatever it was that I said, and that's when they shortly thereafter asked me to become an activist. And shortly after that, they asked me to become state director. And I was state director for like 9 years. Then I became the national spokesperson. Then I became vice president. Then I became president in 2010. And that was the first time I earned a salary. That was 14 years of volunteerism before I became president. And I was president of American Atheist for 7 years. And then I had my incident, and everything ended. You want me to talk about the incident?
Pretty much like fast in the end that summarize like how a lie can destroy a whole life career and dedication, you
Yeah, that's
know.
what happened. My two women lied, and they lied, and you know, you can speculate as to their motives, and we can go into their motives if you want. But one woman said that retroactively, 7 years after the fact, she was too drunk to consent. She wasn't. And the other woman, who was a friend of mine, Beth Presswood, she lied to an insane degree. She completely fabricated an event. And I've got witnesses and signed statements and recordings and pictures and all that stuff. I even took a polygraph test. But none of that matters because American Atheists knee-jerked. As soon as the reports came out, they knee-jerked and fired my ass. And they gave me zero due process. And this is despite the fact that they had a written policy, which I wrote back in 2009, which mandates due process in anything like this. But they voted to bypass that policy, apparently, and threw my ass out, walked me out of my office like a criminal, with a box in my hand. I had no idea why, because I actually didn't do what I was accused of. So when that whole thing happened, I lost my 22-year career and most of my friends, all of my friends at American Atheists. They had been, well, they supposedly been my friends for 20 years, some of them. But there's not a single person that I wouldn't have insisted have due process if the situation were reversed. Not a single person on that board would I have done that to. You know, it's ridiculous what they did, and it's ridiculous how they knee-jerked. It's ridiculous that they are a skeptical organization and decided to avoid. They voted apparently to avoid skepticism. They voted to say, no, we don't want to apply skepticism and even ask Dave if he did it. They never asked me if I did it. I was never given a reason officially. I was never actually offered an opportunity to say a single word in my defense. The accusations came down and I was fired. And there's a lot more around it going through there because I have you know, I don't want to get into our lawsuit, but there's some pretty underhanded shit going on behind the scenes at American Atheists, in my opinion. Pretty awful actions by some people that I thought were friends and loyal employees, who were not, in my opinion. And so that's it. That's the story. That happened last April, not this past April, but the April before it. And since then, I've been, well, I lost everything I loved. And a whole bunch of friends. And so I moved to Seattle and tried to start a new life. And I have now succeeded in starting a new life. Yeah. And that's where I am.
That is really nice to hear. So you want to tell us a little bit about this new project, what's going
Yeah.
on? Then we
So
can maybe go back, talk a little bit on other details on the past.
sure. So I am the new executive director of Atheist Alliance International, which is a fantastic thing. Atheist Alliance International was formed in 1992. It is the democratic alternative to American Atheists, but it's also the international alternative to American Atheists. So we are the firebrand atheist organization for the world. And we are going to be fighting religion with a firebrand style moving forward. It's exciting. We're going to be helping ex-Muslims and ex-Christians in hostile countries to either leave those countries or to find safety in their homes or in their home cities or in their home countries. And we're going to be we have a special counsel status at the UN. We are creating a petition. It's called the Right to Be Secular campaign. That is an addendum onto the Declaration of Human Rights, and we want to get that added on to that as an addendum that says that everybody, yes, you have the right to be religious, but you also have the right to be an atheist. And that is not in the UN resolution. Nowhere is that. And Atheist Alliance International is the only organization in the entire UN with the word atheist in the title. We're the only presence of atheism, proud atheism, in the entire UN. And so we're going to be there using that to help people get free, using that to try and get atheism adopted worldwide, or at least the acceptability of atheism adopted worldwide. That's a long haul, but it's a good project, and it's got its legs. It's got its possibilities to actually be adopted, given time, if we have enough signatures, and that could pressure countries to change their laws. And I'm all
Definitely.
about that.
People actually don't see sometimes don't see the need for this type of fights, because being in United States, even into communities that are more religious, you don't apparently they do not suffer. I talked to the atheist community, some people from the atheist community in Knoxville, and they have like no experience of religious prejudice against them for being atheist. It's not the
That's
same
wonderful.
thing as being yeah, it's not like being atheist in South America.
And it's
I'm
not like being an
Brazilian.
atheist, and it's not like being an atheist in America 20 years ago. Okay,
Yeah.
20 years ago, just going back again to
Hmm.
1997, I think it was, we had an atheist convention in New Jersey. This was not in Tennessee. This was in New Jersey. And we had to find a hotel that would allow us to come and pay retail for the space. We found one hotel that would, and on the marquee in the front of the hotel, when you walked in, they had the convention listed as AA. And when you called the hotel to ask if the atheists were there, the hotel staff said no.
Oh.
This is New Jersey. This is 1996. So flash forward, Oklahoma City, 2017, 850 people. Hugh Laurie is the co-star. You walk in. First of all, the city of Oklahoma flew me down there and gave me a tour of the city to solicit our bid. And when we landed, the marquee at the airport welcomed American Atheist National Convention. And that was in Oklahoma. So you see how the country really changed in 20 years. Really,
Hmm.
we reached the tipping point. And so now, I mean, the atheist movement in America, you're fighting those 10 commandments on public lawns. And well, you're fighting the Trump administration
Hmm.
and their laws, but most of the laws that the Trump administration are going against are like the abortion movement or the gay rights movement. Yeah, they're infringing on the separation of church and state, but there are other movements that are also fighting those fights. But if you take the fight international, so like 3 days ago, I had dinner with an activist from Uganda. Let me tell you what he told me. Uganda right now is in the news because they're resurfacing that kill the gays law. Okay, Uganda is a Christian country; it's Catholic, and they hate gay people a lot. And being gay is illegal in Uganda. And if you are caught engaging in homosexual activity, you go to jail potentially for life. But they didn't think that that was hard enough. There are some people who actually want to bring back the death penalty for homosexual behavior in Uganda. It doesn't look like it's actually going to happen, but there's movement there for that. Here's the thing. The people in Uganda hate atheists more than they hate gay people. Gay people can repent, atheists cannot. This is what I learned a couple days ago. Gay people can repent, atheists cannot. The reason there are no anti-atheist laws in Uganda is because the mob takes care of them. The mob just takes care of them. Angry mobs of people. When they find out
Yeah.
that you're an atheist, they just kill you.
Impressive. Yeah.
This is Uganda. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, think about the amount of benefit that we can do there. Think about the good we can do in Uganda just by putting in some publicity about how nice it is to be an atheist and how atheists have done good. Just some
Yeah.
billboards, just some publicity, maybe a tour. Just get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just get in there one way or another with a real mild message. This guy
Yeah.
invented the polio vaccine, and he was an atheist. This guy invented the inventor of this, the inventor of that. They were
Yeah.
atheists. That's all.
To
Just get
break to break the prejudice. I think it is an important fight still, because like in all the revolutions, and I would say more like in all the evolution of like whatever society and thoughts, there, when people are getting rid of some thoughts, there is a revolution from the other side. So people, religious people, see the religiosity going down, and of course they are fighting to this movement of atheism growing. But in what I sometimes see, people that are already atheists and still turning back to religious for like, for some reason they believe there is no way to get to religion, moral standards without religion. You know, some people talk on that way, and we have like some Harris and other people talking about objective morality. Other objective is in philosophy, Yaron and Ayn Rand and other objectivists that I actually like to think more on that way as well. We are still talking so much on the side of the atheist more. I think now it's like for people to recognize you don't need religious uh, thoughts or religious doctrines to give you morals, to be moral, to be a moral person. And the same way to be able, like, you need we need to stand out as like we are good and we are atheists, so we show those examples for these people that actually believe they do not exist. In Brazil, there were lawsuits against famous people on TV that actually have thrown statements on public media saying like, oh, atheists have no God in their hearts, they are immoral people because, you know. And these actually raise this type of idea of like, yeah, atheists are bad. And I have suffered prejudice in Brazil exactly because of that. I don't think people actually know atheists and think they are bad because they are actually bad people.
right,
They think they are bad just because what they hear
right.
other religious people saying.
Well,
And
they hear
I
it
have
from the
had
preachers.
encounter like people saying like, I can't believe you're an atheist, you're such a good person. You know, after knowing me and then becoming to know that I'm an atheist, they were like so surprised. And I was like, no, there are many more good atheists. And what I try sometimes to talk about is like how actually the religions are segregating people. I recently met some people around here. I'm in the British Columbia area. Here, people are strongly religious. There are like churches every corner. And in a meeting recently where I met different people, they were like, oh no, religion is very important for morals and for the social encounters, to keep like social life. And I pointed to them. I think everybody was a little surprised with this approach. I was like, well, I think we would be much more social if we had no religion at all, and we could actually meet just because we are people, we are humans. So we would not have the many different churches. And you guys are actually not dealing with Muslims, you're not dealing with the Indians, you're not dealing with the people that are polytheists. So you are religious people do not see how it's arbitrary their moral
Mhm.
standards, and also don't see how they are actually segregating themselves from other people just because of an invisible God.
Well, it's not just the invisible God; it's the out group. It's the preachers, right? The preachers are the ones who are they have the financial conflict of interest, right? They have the financial interest to make people think that everybody in the in group is good and everybody out the out group is bad. So they take the morality, the credit for morality for their religion, right? It's not just religion itself; it's their religion. Um, but then if you think about it, um, when it's when religions debate, they don't debate each other. Okay, Christians don't debate Muslims. Jews don't debate Muslims. Okay, they might about this fact in your Bible versus this fact in my Bible, but they will not debate your God is wrong in fiction, my God is right, because it's a zero sum. They can't do it because, of course, all gods are fiction. So what does that mean? That means that when they debate, the common enemy is the atheists. We're the big bad ones. And of course, um, even going into the New Testament, in Matthew, the big unforgivable sin is atheism. It's the big bad because we're telling the truth. We're the only ones telling the truth. So what religion does is it demonizes us. It says that they have the morality and we don't, which is akin to them saying they have right hands and we don't. But if you do have a right hand, it's religion that gave it to you, and it's it's how they perpetuate this outgrouping, this unhumanistic outgrouping, this segregation that you're talking about, um, by saying they're right and everybody else is wrong. But when it comes to atheism, we're the big bad because we're the ones who actually are right. And so we're the big evil ones that nobody should ever talk to. So when you talk to somebody who is religious and they say, oh, well, I didn't know atheists could be good people. That is a lesson that comes straight from their religion. That is a lesson that comes straight from their pastors. It's not something they learn from other people most of the time. And if they did, it's because they learned it from pastors. That's the stuff that makes the wars. And that's the stuff that oppresses atheism. That's why atheists get killed by mobs in Uganda and Pakistan and Bangladesh, uh, and.
Yeah,
Uh,
happening.
so there's a lot of good that can be done easily if we penetrate the market, if we raise awareness, if we can get in there. And I don't know how we're going to get in there yet, but if we can get in there, I mean, just think if I can put up, you know, a few billboards in some major city in Uganda uh, that say, here's a person, they were an atheist, they were nice. That's it. Here's a
Yeah.
person, they were an atheist, they were nice, they were good. That's it. Here's a person, they were an atheist, and they reduced suffering. They added value. They invented a thing that helps
Doesn't
people.
even need to be that type of billboard that actually shocked, a few times.
You
There
got to
were some,
this
they,
mild shock, right?
yeah,
Shock is relative. Remember? So I wrote about this in my book. The scale slides, right? So you have this window, this Overton window that slides, and wherever that is, you got to be just outside of it to pull it. So in Uganda, I mean, putting the word atheist on a billboard might be too much. We might have to say non-religious or secular or anything like that, but we have to move that little thing. Um, but yeah, we don't. That will be shocking. But I mean, who knows where we'll be able to get it in, but or how? We might have to go in the newspapers. We might go on the radio. But what I'm saying is that there is just so much good that can be done internationally, and lives that can literally be saved,
yeah.
and improved on a massive scale. And then I look back at my past, and I'm like, all right, well, we sued for a cross on public lawn. We it's a different breed of atheist activism. It's a different breed. I'm not saying that what we did was wrong. What we did was extremely effective. Everything that we did at American Atheist when I was there was extremely effective, pretty much, with few exceptions. And I think that the atheist movement did a great job in changing the world, changing the country in the 20 years that I was involved, the 22 years that I was involved. But I mean, if you got people in, I mean, where was that? Kentucky? Did you talk to people in Lexington, Kentucky?
I talk to people from Knoxville.
Knoxville, Tennessee. That's
Yeah.
Tennessee. And they had never experienced any bigotry at the hands of Christians.
The people that I talk to, no, I normally keep bringing my examples at work and stuff, and they're like, "Oh no, not that. It's
Victory,
very mild, mild. The
victory.
United States is just so secular in the practice on the streets, on the reality." And I brought, it's very different. In Brazil, people will look different to you, will treat you different. Friendships will break up, family relationships. I have a very difficult relationship with some members of my family because of belief.
Yeah,
More because I don't believe. I don't actually have problems if they still believe. I have been there. I took 20 years of my life to accept myself as an atheist because of that pressure, that social pressure. You have to believe something. If you do not believe, you have no morals. So I was seeking to be part of the group, still looking for some type of religiosity, spirituality, until I was like, I found the community and I was like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not bad. I know I'm not bad. And now I have the support of the community to stand for other atheists because I saw the need of like coming out of the closet and it's like, hey guys, here I'm moral. I'm standing for you. You guys can, let's make this group. Let's get together and fight for really equality because it's just so difficult sometimes to come out of the closet.
yeah, it is. And especially if you're coming out in a hostile country, in a hostile society. And I couldn't be happier to hear about the Tennessee folks. I couldn't be happier to hear about that. That's a huge thing. I mean, thinking back to who I was, thinking back to the guy I was back in '96, I'm thrilled, right? I'm thrilled. I mean, they're in Tennessee and they take atheist stuff to the job.
Yeah,
It's
apparently there are people that still feel like that personal pressure, but they say
well,
that is not
sure,
something like it's not something systematic. It's not
yeah,
something like society holds against them anymore. People are more liberal on that side. Like, no, yeah, everybody. I would say like even a little bit like too pragmatic and postmodernist on that. Everything is possible and respect everyone's beliefs because I think the next part of the topic that it would be the skepticism and the need and importance of it crossing with the Me Too movement in your case. And that was my next question, like how you got involved or you just got dragged by the atheism plus because you were in the atheist community, the Me Too movement and feminism.
I don't understand your question.
Uh, because you were very advocating for the Me Too movement at some point
Oh yeah,
and for feminism, and apparently this thing turned against you.
in
What's
about an hour. In about an hour, it turned against me. I have been a feminist since before I was an atheist activist. I mean, I was marching in feminist marches in college. Um, I guess well, what happened? I mean, so I've been a feminist since I was young, and I was a second wave feminist. Our mission was equal work for equal pay, elimination of the glass ceiling, elimination of male chauvinists from the work site as much as possible, get rid of the systemic patriarchy. And we pretty much won. Of course, when you do that, there's no finish line, right? You don't. And so I stayed in the feminist mindset for a very long time. And what happened was feminism changed. And feminism became this third wave feminism, which is all about, believe all women, and Me Too, and this intersectionality bullshit, that says that somebody who has a greater intersectionality has somehow a more valid opinion and is oppressed by all the racism and the systemic racism and the systemic patriarchy. So I was in that for a while, and I didn't really look into it. I didn't really, because it was feminism. And so I just went along with it, and my brain went along with it. And I was in it, and I was practicing, and I was woke as fuck. And yeah, when the women made those accusations, because the wokists, they push around this number. They say 2% of allegations are false, and that's a lie. That's actually a lie. It's 2 to 10% of reported to police reports are false. 2 to 10% of those that are reported to the police are false. Reporting something to the police is a hell of a lot harder than reporting something to BuzzFeed. Because when you're reporting something to BuzzFeed, you're talking to a very eager reporter who wants to make a story. When you're talking to a police person, they're trying to be skeptical. They're going to say, "Oh, really? This happened, and then what happened? Oh, really? And this happened, and then what? And how did this work?" And so there's skepticism there, and of course there's a crime involved if you file a false police report. So to say that 2% of people accused of sexual impropriety are false is a horrible lie. It's a horrible lie. To say that women cannot lie about sexual assault is a horrible lie. And to say that women would not lie about sexual assault because there's this girl code where they would never knowingly hurt another woman who might be assaulted by making it harder for them to come out by making a false report. There's supposed to be this code. They would never do that. That's bullshit. They will. We have to understand, feminism says, okay, let's take the moral bottom of the society, 1%, the 1% least moral people, okay? Half of those are women, right? That's a lot of really immoral fucking assholes with vaginas who are completely capable of lying, and they don't care. Maybe they got something wrong with them. Maybe they're, who knows? Maybe they're fucked up people. But to say that they should be believed, now they should be taken seriously. Don't get me wrong. Every accusation should be taken seriously by every person. Every accusation by every person. It doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman. All accusations should be taken seriously. All accusations should be skeptically reviewed. And women should not be infantilized. They can make their reports. This is not the 1950s and 60s anymore. The patriarchy is dead. There is no systemic patriarchy in America anymore. Every company, I live in the city of Seattle. I think it's safe to say that in any company that's in this massive skyscraper city, if they had two equal people for their presidents, for their CEOs, they were completely equal, but one was a man and one was a woman, very, very few would say, well, I don't want a woman running my company, and not hire the woman. In fact, they probably would hire the woman because it looks better to have a woman president. So there's no glass ceiling. There's no glass ceiling. Elizabeth Warren has the numbers to beat Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton had the numbers to beat Donald Trump. There's no glass ceiling. There's no patriarchy. It's not. And so what we have to do is realize that feminism changed because feminism won. Feminism won. Not today's feminism, my day's feminism, second wave feminism. We won. And now third wave feminists are trying very desperately to have something to do.
And there is a lot of things to do, but not in the Western society. And that's what I try to keep talking online with the with the Facebook or virtual psychonauts feminists, that's like stop raising this flag of feminism online. Go burn your bra in the Middle East. It is a proper feminism to be done today. But I think because I like the way that you already explained all your position. Was definitely one of my curiosities to ask if you still a feminist. And I think the right answer is like, yeah, we all are feminists when we stand for equality. But the feminism online that exists nowadays, trying to talk about wage gap and a lot of little myths that the third wave feminism is standing with those crazy flags. uh, it's not something useful for us as community, as a society. And there is a lot of fights to be done in feminism still, like you
Yeah,
said. Yeah,
there's a
but
lot of fights to be done, but
yeah,
the fights are not to be done around lies. If they
no,
say
definitely not.
if there's a gender pay gap, and let's talk just a moment about the gender pay gap.
Yeah.
It's not just that there has to be a gender pay gap; it has to be a gender pay gap due to male chauvinism. Okay, because if there's a gender pay gap because women like this kind of job more than that kind of job, just because they do, and if we can go to other societies and say, oh look, in more in even more egalitarian societies, they have the same rates of women going into the same thing, so it's not systemic in our system. Uh, if we have no oppression, don't claim there is oppression, because then what
Yeah,
you're doing is you're looking at the tiniest things and you're saying,
I think a
that's
little.
systemic oppression, and now you're making big deals out of tiny things. And now all of a sudden people are getting blamed for whispers. And
Yeah.
the Me Too, the Me Too thing bit me hard, obviously. And I think what we, what I, as a feminist, as a second wave feminist, which is the only
Mhm.
way I call myself anymore, uh, I have the responsibility to women who are abused to say, hey, feminists, protecting liars hurts women who are abused.
Definitely.
Protecting liars within your ranks, protecting them, gathering around and saying, oh, we know you're lying, but you're probably good because he probably deserved it anyways. People are actually saying this about me, okay? Because I've got all the evidence, I've got pictures and witnesses and all that stuff. I can not only disprove that they don't have, I can not only say that they failed to prove anything, I can say that I succeeded in proving my innocence in a great big
Mhm.
way. They hate me anyways. And these people need to, it's not about me. They're protecting the accusers, they're protecting the liars who I have proven have lied. I
Yeah.
have, and those women are hurting the women who are actual victims, because I got to come on this podcast and rescue my life and say the truth. And that's not me being bad. That's feminism being bad for protecting their assholes. The Catholic Church protects pedophile priests, and the feminists are protecting women who make false Me Too allegations and heroizing them, making them granted. So they're actually encouraging more, which will hurt more women.
Yeah.
What needs to happen is feminism needs to turn around on the women who lie inside their ranks and shun the fuck out of them. Shame the
Yeah.
fuck out of them. These are bad people who
Definitely.
hurt good people, allies.
Yeah,
For what? Shits
for
and
sure.
giggles? For fame? For a rush? I don't know why they did it. But I do
Yeah,
know they both,
that
I know
was
very well that I know
a
with
question.
great certainty that
Do
they
you
both
think they
know their,
had a lot of gain with that?
what?
Did they get any gain with these stories?
Um, I don't know. Well, yeah, I believe Rose got quite a bit of notoriety. Rose St. Clair got quite a bit of notoriety. Lots of Atta girls, I guess you'd call them.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of backpacking. People love her. And then Beth Presswood, Rachel Presswood, Matt Dillahunty's wife.
Mm-hmm.
She was outed not by me, but she got so much pity for being outed, for being the horrible, horrible liar that she is. The horrible, horrible,
Really impressive.
backstabbing, friend betraying, feminism betraying, movement betraying liar that she is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're protecting her. And they're saying, oh, if you're Dave Silverman's friend, you can't be my friend anymore because we have to protect women.
I have heard that.
But meanwhile, Beth Presswood and Rose Sinclair are protected, which is going to encourage more women to make more false allegations, which hurts the actual real victims of abuse, which
Yes.
are real.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at this. I mean, when I was younger, when we were younger, the Catholics would, before the church, the Catholic Church raping schoolboys thing was people have been talking about that for a while. And when I was early into my activism, one of the biggest things were, well, we're not going to be like them. If one of us turns bad, we're going to turn those folks in. They don't turn in their pedophiles. I'll tell you something. I mean, I remember saying a long time ago that if I ever caught Richard Dawkins with hurting a boy, I would turn him in. That was a system of pride. And I believe I also said that he would do the same to me, which is true. Mm-hmm. But now the feminists are actually doing that. They're actually hiding their bad guys, pretending they're good guys, to the detriment of actual victims. That's happening right now.
Do you think that it's a result of ignorance? People that just heard and do not go through trying to search for evidence, or those are people that actually know the story and still stand on the side of, because of feminists, because women are victim, like more into the woke side of the narrative. They are really blindly woke, like, oh, if an interaction in between a man and a woman, of course woman is the victim and man is the perpetrator, like in that type of sexism.
Right. And you're dealing with wokeism. You're dealing with what is essentially a religion. You're dealing with a mantra. You're dealing with it's really a religion. And I was part of that. I mean, I was inside that. So when somebody came out with a Me Too allegation, my head went there too. I have to have compassion for that. But the leaders in feminism and at all levels, the acceptance of liars in favor of not making women look bad. The insistence that women can't lie when I have pictures and eyewitnesses hurts feminism, hurts women. How can they not see this? So there's a resistance from the skepticism. Wokeism doesn't like skepticism, right? Wokeism doesn't like due process. Wokeism has mantras, and wokeism has relative truth. So maybe they think it's Rose Sinclair's truth that she was too drunk. We walked home from the party. It was over like a mile. And we talked. She talked about work. She wasn't drunk. She was definitely not too drunk to consent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but
maybe you should have noticed something wrong with that question before about the work,
me,
the job, asking for.
Yeah. This is not a lesson, Dave.
Like that was a little sign.
Okay, this is not Dave making good decisions. I am not saying that I'm some innocent guy who makes all the right decisions. And heavens to Betsy, what did they say? No. We did have an affair. We did have events, and I did make terrible decisions on both those days, immoral decisions. But I hurt nobody. I harmed nobody. And the problem is that they don't care. The wokists don't care about facts. They don't care about facts because look, if they think about facts, then they're going to have to forgive me, or they're going to have to pronounce me redeemed for something I didn't do. They cannot do that. They cannot. There is nobody that comes back to these folks ever, because the first person who says, yes, let's forgive Dave, they're outcast. The first person who says, yeah, maybe we should look at the data, they're the bad guys now. They're all right.
They are rapist apologists.
They're rapist apologists. Right?
I was called this last week
It's
when I mentioned
ridiculous.
your name in a group, and I was really
Yeah,
disappointed
they
because,
call
like,
me rapist.
yeah,
They call me rapist.
I brought another case, and someone actually was really interesting to. It's interesting that I'm bringing this in the interview to you, but I was thinking of case Devon normally is exposing cases of ladies lying and committing crimes against men most of the time, like hoax and fake accusations. And I brought it to one of my groups that actually speaks on the street epistemology. So we like to talk about methods and how you get into conclusions. And I thought it was an interesting talk about sexual allegations and fake or true self-defense and stuff like that. And when I brought this other case, first thing they told me is like, I can't believe you were one of those rapist apologists. Don't tell me you're a fan of David Silverman. And I was like, but David Silverman is not a rapist. And what I heard, listen, that's why I'm telling you that's a lot of ignorance on the case. Oh, I don't know anything about the case, but you're wrong. So people
See,
that
it's
actually
not.
do not even go through the evidence to
No.
make assumptions, statements, and conclusions. And this scares me a lot. So that's why I wanted to bring you here. Of course, I did not, like I told you, I did not want to stretch much into the conversation on like a graphic explanation of all the what happened, because
Yeah.
it's very
They
well
can look at our
explained
own
on the
podcast to get a
atheist, yeah, and the atheist republic. You
Yeah.
did explain very well. It's very graphic. Devon have made cuts, and I will actually just attach here. People will find the card and they can go to the link and watch all the other 3 interviews that you have given
Thank you.
more
I
detail.
appreciate that.
Okay. So I think it's interesting, but the most important thing that I wanted to talk about all what happened, the way that happened with these two ladies that later came to tell BuzzFeed and not the police, like it just not even seeking for justice. So it's more like a gossip, let's say, no, because it's and
It was vindictive. If it was vindictive, if I'd actually harmed them, they
Mhm.
would be, required morally to file the police report and get me off the streets. Matt Dillahunty sat on the board in 2017 and allowed me to be reelected president, thinking I assaulted his wife. No, he didn't. He
Yeah.
didn't. I don't believe he did. I don't believe he did. I don't believe that either of these women believe what they're saying. Well, I know they don't.
Hmm.
As
Have
much
you
as I
had
can.
like a personal encounter with any of these people
Nope.
that accused or that believed in the false accusations to
Nope.
be able to
I'm a
ask like
pariah.
why?
I'm a
Why?
pariah, Fanny. I'm a serial rapist because of
You
these
cannot even
allegations. I'm such a bad guy. And the odd thing is, Fanny, see, here's the thing. Um, I have my own brain shit, okay? I have my own stuff that I've been keeping private, but in the past month I've had to come a little bit more public with it. I have a guilt shame complex.
Hmm.
And what that means is a bunch of things that's really been one of the drivers through my entire life. But one of those things means is that if I ever hurt somebody, I'd feel extremely guilty, like over the top guilty. And to as a result of that, and also as a result of the fact that I I want to be a good and kind person, I haven't harmed a person in
Hmm.
my life. All right, I've never taken a swing at anybody. I've never hurt anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done bad things. Don't get me wrong. I've done
Yeah,
bad things,
interesting.
but when I've done bad things that I've hurt a person, I felt terrible. I'm not the
Hmm.
type of person that can just turn it off. And I mean, to call me a harmer of any kind is, it's way off. I, and now these people are saying these things about me without looking at any evidence because they're afraid. Because they're
Yeah.
afraid that the evidence will convince them, and then they'll have to say it or keep it in. And if they say it, that if they keep it in, they'll know all their friends are wrong. And if they say it, they'll be ostracized. This is what wokism does. So all these people hate me without knowing anything about it. They pronounced me guilty. They hated me really bad.
Mm-hmm. What
And they refuse to even look at the evidence. They refuse to even think about the fact that maybe the women lied, because if they do, if they say it out loud, they're going to be in the boat with me.
for
I was
example,
woke.
like
I was
with,
woke as fuck. I'm sorry.
for example, like just to clarify a little bit for people that maybe will not go through the long videos with the Atheist Republic or Devons, uh, uh, the case, what happened with Rose was that she later just said that she did not have, she was inebriated and not have proper uh, consent. Is that
Yeah.
that's what she tried to
That's what she said.
frame?
That's what she
No.
said. She said we got together at dinner. I was flirting with her. Um, she didn't feel like she could say no to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was very, very drunk. That's what she said. However, I have pictures
Yeah.
of her with me before lunch, at lunch, and after lunch because she was with me all day pursuing me. She sat next to me at dinner, not for the first
The
time,
good
but
stalker.
the good kind of stalker. She
Yeah.
wanted to fuck me in a great big way, and I was 40 something years old and I was into it. But she
Hmm.
made it real clear that she wanted to fuck me, and she wasn't drinking the
And
whole day.
the question is, how long did she bring this up later? Like,
6 years later.
so
Six
doesn't
years
even feel
later.
like it had anything to do with like whatever at all. No,
We had
like
a one night
it feels so
stand. She went home.
disconnected in time. No,
What?
it feels so disconnected in time. Like
Yeah,
if she
almost as if she
felt
wanted
like
to get
that
publicity.
abuse, why not bring this up before, for example?
I don't know if I'm so rapey. She must have said. I mean, how many other women must I have done that to? And it's all her fault for not putting my ass in jail, huh? Why doesn't she put my ass in jail now? Because she
And
knows it's a
did
crime.
they and there are no criminal charges or due process, like you said. So it's just like it destroy your life for a gossip and not seek even justice,
Nope.
if it was the
They did not
point.
seek justice. They sought destruction, and they got it. They
Yeah.
got it. They took away everything in my life that I loved, all of it.
In the in I
Then
understood
they
that the
danced,
case
family. Then they danced
I
to
understood that
celebrate
in the
my demise.
case I understood that in the case of Matt's wife, Matt Dillahunty's wife, Beth, that she did go after you not once, twice, like after in the middle of the night. So how did she convince him that you abuse her? You have any idea, or she brought
Yeah.
this up
The
in
key
some
the
in
key
any way?
we were together for like 6 hours. Okay. And a chunk of that time was alone in a bedroom. And as you heard on the Armin podcast, we engaged in a whole bunch of things. And I'm a Dom, I'm a BDS, I'm a kinky guy. And she's kinky as well. She's a sub. She was very happy to meet what she called a real Dom. And because she complained to me that there weren't any real Doms in the movement. And she wanted a real Dom. And so we engaged in some uh, hard breast play. Okay. Um, she says, harder, sir, thank you, sir, harder, sir, thank you, sir. And that kind of thing happens. And when you do that, you leave bruises on the breasts. I'm sure she left that room with bruises on her breasts. But Matt had told her not to play with me. So I suspect she woke up in the morning with black and blue titties and no explanation. And so she said, hey, Matt, Dave attacked me. And I'll bet Matt believed her at first. And they told other people. They told Greta. They told Richard Carrier. They told other people. They didn't tell anybody who was at the party who might have been a witness to the events. Mm-hmm. There were several. One woman actually tried to get a threesome with us. Okay, we were engaged. People saw. So I suspect that Matt believed her at first, and then because I think that
Can
Matt.
I ask you something about the story? Just where is Matt all this time? just curious.
I believe he was at the convention, but he was not at the party.
Okay, he was just not at this party where you were guys engaged, and then he called her when you were already in the room.
What?
Then he called her later when you guys were in the room?
Yeah, we were in the room. The people left, and Beth and I started to engage, and we had all our initial discussions, and we started to play. And then he called. She let it go to voicemail, but then she left. Then hours later, she came back, knocked on my door. I didn't invite her. She came back. She said, Matt doesn't want us to play, but I still want to play. Don't tell your wife. I won't tell him. Don't tell him. I won't tell your wife. And she took my hand and led me to the bed. And she says, that's not consensual. There's no way in hell.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
When I hear the story, I always keep asking myself where she got that was not consensual, but she did walk to your room like in the middle of the night. So how did that match the entire story at all?
She is a horrible, horrible liar. Beth Presswood is a horrible, horrible liar. And she needs to be known as that. And Matt Dillahunty needs to be known because he's either an idiot for believing his wife, but also didn't give a fuck when I was reelected to the presidency while he was on the board. Didn't say, oh, by the way, the guy that we're electing to the presidency.
I thought they were not together anymore.
What?
I thought they were not together anymore.
No, they're not together now, but back in 2017 they were together. I was his wife, or she was his wife. He put me on the board. What if I'm rapey? If I'm rapey, I'm the president of the organization. I'm going to go around on tour. I'm going to be all rapey all over the place. All the women.
And even after that,
didn't give a fuck.
You guys never talked about because he just took you as the rapist.
There was one conversation which I recorded and I put it on my website. Okay, the website is firebrandforgood.com. Firebrandforgood.com.
Yeah.
And Matt came to my office. So remember, I had sex with his wife against his will. Okay? I knew he didn't want me to fuck his wife, and I did anyways. So I feel guilty about that, right? That's a lot of guilt for me. I wronged somebody.
Probably the only thing that you actually did wrong.
Yeah, it is.
Because the rest of the things were just like you and your wife and him and his wife. I don't think that has to do with anybody else. But
it's nobody's fucking business what I do with my penis.
Felt, yeah, and the only moral problem.
Yeah, really. I mean, leave me alone. But at any rate, so I believe that he is. So he came to my office, and I knew that he had been complaining about me in 2015. This was 2017, but he had been complaining about me in 2015. Beth and I happened in 2015. But I didn't know what he was complaining about. I just knew he was complaining and bitching about me. So I got him in a room and I said, hey, Matt, how are we? And he said, we're fine. He said, the small stuff is nothing. And you do your job and I'll do mine. And there are some people I won't get on stage with, and you're not one of them. Which is not something you say to somebody who molested your wife. Yeah. It's something you say to somebody who fucked your wife without your permission. It's not something you say to somebody who attacked your wife. Yeah. That's why I believe Matt Dillahunty is also a fucking liar. That's why I believe he's going on protesting too much, complaining to everybody. He tells people I'm terrible and awful and evil, and there's this he's calling all of our mutual friends and making them decide who they want to be friends with, me or him. It's like fucking grade school again. What is it? Middle school. It's I don't believe it for a second. Matt Dillahunty's a smart man, and I don't believe he believes it. I believe he's lying. I believe that he knows very well that Beth is lying. And I suspect this is all just one big jealousy thing, one big power play. Maybe he's stuck. Maybe he's afraid to back down. Maybe he's afraid of being called out. Maybe he's got skeletons in his closet that people are hiding. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't believe that if something happens in 2015 and in 2017 you're okay with it, but then in 2018 I'm a bad, evil, disgusting rapist. No, that's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. If I'm a bad, evil, disgusting rapist, I was a bad, evil, disgusting rapist while you sat on the board and let me be reelected to be president. While you sat in my room and told me that Dan Arrell, he's a bad guy. You won't take the stage with him because he says bad words. But I'm okay. That's not true, in my opinion. That's not real, in my opinion. That's pretty damning, in my opinion. And I got the recording on the website, firebrandforgood.com. Everybody can go hear it. And
nice.
I'll
put the link here so people on the descriptions as well for your page.
I mean, this is a really unfortunate event that happened, and I'm trying to heal and put it behind me. I am far from healed. I'm
fighting cancel culture as well.
Yeah, because wokism sucks. Wokism is wrong. The mantras and the bullshit that is pushed by wokism, by the wokist agenda, does not stand up to data, which is why wokism doesn't like data. It's a lot like how Scientologists don't like you to get psychology. Wokeism doesn't like you to look at data. The data that says the patriarchy is dead. The data that says any gender pay gap is not a result of misogyny. It's not the result of chauvinism.
I would say even like the woke cannot analyze the data properly because they actually take the data and use like, see how it proves my point. It's like, because you're not reading it properly.
Correct.
The pay gap, for example, I keep talking to people like in Brazil, there is a lot of the new feminism. This I say like the third wave feminism is the wrong way of fighting sexism. Is the sexism fights sexism, is like the racism fighting racism, and is not a good way to debunk those things. If you really want equality, you should not be sexist in the other way. And I see a lot of the third wave feminism, they just want extra or privilege or benefits. They do not want equality, they want special treatment. And is what I talk about, like when you see the wage gap, and it's like, no, this is still, if the numbers are different, you need to analyze that the world is equal, and the difference in the numbers is the freedom of people making choices, personal individual choice. And I try to bring this to, for example, in the example of doctors. I'm a doctor, I'm a physician, my father is a physician, my brother is a physician. We all worked in type of shifts, work in hospitals. And during the time that we were all doing shifts at the same places, we would receive different salaries because I would choose to work less because I wanted to stay home more with my family, with my kids. This is what the feminists gave to us, and we are very thankful for the freedom to be able to decide that you want to be moms and you want to be doctors, and we can choose how much you're going to work. But what these people want, they want equal results, and to have equal results, you're going to start treating people unfairly.
Yeah.
and that is, I think, is the most important talk nowadays, to talk about all this woke culture, PC culture, and fights on equalities that we have reached already, because there is this other side just demonizing us, calling us names, and trying to shut people down just to say like, oh, he's a rapist, or she is a
Rape assault.
misogyny, yeah, like people calling, telling me like that I have internal misogyny because I'm not a
Yeah.
feminist.
So you're talking about equality versus equity, right? You're talking about equality of outcome, equality of opportunity versus equal outcomes, equity.
Yeah.
And those are two very, very different terms, and we have to understand the difference is that the problem with wokeism is that it implies that if we have 50% women and 50% men, then every job should have 50% women and 50% men, because men and women are completely equal. And if they don't have 50% men and 50% women, then that difference is 100% due to some sort of patriarchy, some sort of oppression. And the same thing goes for people of color. If we have this many people of color, but they're not doing as much, they're not in this firm, or there's not enough black people in Harvard, that's Harvard's fault.
Yeah.
And so there's some validity there on the surface, right? There is
But they are
some
very
validity,
biased,
but
in the
but now are you
confirmation
going
bias
to
as well, to
but
pick
now
and
you're going
choose.
to if you have equality of opportunity, then you have all these people, blacks, whites, Asians, taking college entrance exams. Um, and the school can't take the best exams anymore. And it's it's a matter of, well, we have to accept X many black people, X many Latinos, X many Asians, and X many whites, and that's equity, but that's also discrimination against whoever's on top.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then we're going to actually bring down the quality of the school.
Yeah.
And if we do that in STEM, if we do that in, I mean, when you bring in the relativism of facts, so now the scientific method is a white man's tool, and math is a white man's tool, even though the Egyptians invented math. So it's this is why I say it's a religion.
It's an agenda. Yeah, it's
It's
a
an
religion to
agenda. It's an
demonize.
agenda based on victimization. It's an agenda based on victimization and white guilt and shame.
Yes.
I know all the
Yes.
fuck about shame.
Demonize white men. To
Because
demonize white men.
and so what they're doing is they're rejoicing. I mentioned this before. They rejoice when a white man falls. They rejoice. When I went down, they were figuratively singing in the streets about
Yeah,
and when I
sad.
came out with the Armin podcast about the pain that I was in, um, they they didn't care. A lot of them, they just celebrated. They don't even humanize me. They see me as less of a human because I'm a white guy.
Hmm.
Um, and I got the job at Atheist Alliance International. Here's a good example. I got the job at Atheist Alliance International. I'm here in a hole, right? In a mental hole. And Atheist Alliance International, the board, I knew one person on the board of AAI. I'd only ever met or talked to one person on the board, the whole board of AAI. And they looked at all the data. They looked at my page. They looked at everything, and they all agreed that I had been falsely accused, and they wanted me.
Hmm.
Uh, so when I got hired, Sikivu Hutchinson put out a statement that it was about me being white and male and cronyism. Cronyism. She did not take a second to ask, how many people on that board did I know? She did not take a second to say, hey, you know what? Dave did take American Atheists and turn it from a very little known organization to a global organization. He did take it from an almost broke organization to a $3 million organization. Oh, he did create the Reason Rally, which changed the whole movement. Maybe he was the single most qualified person for the job anywhere. But she couldn't say that. She said it was because I'm white and male and have cronies.
Mm-hmm.
They can't forgive. They can't give me a break. They can't even see me for what I am and what I've done.
Yeah.
They have married the fact that I'm a bad guy, and I'm not.
And one of the things that I don't actually understand on the narrative of like if there is no more evidence, everything was so long ago that there is no more evidence, and they will take personal experience reports as they took hers serious, like these people that actually believe you are a rapist, and if these people that are actually judging you ultimately went through the reports, what they said and you said, it's clear that there was consent and there was like a game. It was a game. And I don't understand how the report from these ladies is more valuable than yours. Or
Yeah,
in the end, they're just, oh, just hear then and shut him down because, of course, he did something bad.
I
Don't
did
even
something
need to.
bad. See, that's the thing. They're sure because I'm a white man that was in power, I must have done bad things. And so it's probably pretty permissible for them to say, well, it's okay if Rose and Beth lied because he was probably guilty of other stuff because he's an old white guy. And
Yeah.
you know, if anybody would say that, that's prejudice, that's bigotry, that's stupid, that's moronic, because I was an ally. I was fighting their fight. And there are other men who are also allies fighting their fight. And they can see
Mm-hmm.
how I have been treated by their friends. They're treating me the same way. They're treating me the same way. The woke men are treating me the same way as the woke women, but they must know that
They
those
can
women
be the
just
next
lie
victim.
and ruin their lives
They
anytime
should
they
know.
want. They must. The women in the movement can lie. They will lie. They have lied to ruin people for personal reasons, for shits and giggles, apparently, for fame, to because you don't want to tell your husband that you cheated on him, or because you want to get at a girls by your peers, maybe get a little notoriety, get printed in BuzzFeed. Hey, Rose St. Clair, you got printed in BuzzFeed. It is. This is.
Might be like that for
This
those
is.
reasons.
This is the reality of the day, Fanny.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like to be clear here, because one maybe they used, for example, in the case of Beth, she used, for example, these statements of trying to like to really graphic explain what happened in between you guys. She said like, oh yeah, I said no, but you guys engaged in the BDSM, and I would like you to just explain a little bit. That was something new for me when I was
Okay.
going through the videos and
Okay.
learning
So
that actually it is the sub that sets the boundary. So you were not
yes.
doing anything that she did not ask you.
No. The dom follows orders. Okay. The dom follows orders. The sub is in charge. So the perfect example is she said in the BuzzFeed report that I called her a whore, right?
Hmm.
I called her a whore for a very specific reason. She told me to. She told me to call her a whore twice. Then I called her a whore, and she went to BuzzFeed about it. And when you're in a BDSM scene, you have safe words. She knew what the safe word was. That's why she called it. But you have a safe word for a reason, because you agree in advance that no does not mean no, because
Yeah.
that's part of the fantasy. That's part of the
Yeah, that is
fantasy.
the thing interesting, because people, the Me Too movement and all the woke people and a lot of the no means no. There was like kind of a meme, people talking about the no means no a lot, and it kind of was set on people's mind that no means no, but people that do not know about the BDSM. So when I learned a little bit more about it, I was like, wow, it makes like no sense that, because the no is what it turns the people on. It's what people actually are willing to hear, like to say no, they want to do it against or play that is against the person's
Well,
consent, and that's why there are other
that's the game.
words instead of no.
This is the
And that's
game.
what I would like to be
This is
clear.
why safe words exist. Safe words exist because you want to get yourself out of the, you want to get yourself into the mindset where you can't say no. But of course, the sub always can because we're just playing a game. Okay, it's
Mhm.
just a fun game. So nobody's trying to hurt anybody in BDSM. Um, it's not rapey at all. It's very, very consensual and arranged in advance, which we did, which is why she knew the word red,
Mhm.
right? She knew the word red. She knew the safe word because we had discussed it.
Mhm.
So, yes,
And it
when she
was not
said
her
no,
first time doing that with you. That's
yeah,
another thing. She already was engaged in this type of modality.
oh yeah,
I don't know.
she was very
Sexual.
experienced. She was very experienced in subbing, and she was complaining to me that she couldn't find a dom. So she stood in front of me, and I went into this in detail in Armin's podcast. She stood in front of me as she was disrobing, giving me all of the things that she
Mhm.
wanted. You know,
Yeah.
call me this, do that. I want to, and you know, yeah, that's what we established. We established the safe word, and yeah. So, but you can see what she did. She took the sentences that she gave to BuzzFeed, and parsed them out. And the sentences are individually are all correct. He called me a whore. Yes, I did call her a whore, but that's because you told me to call you a whore. He said no. I said no, and he said you don't get to say no to me. Yes, that's true because we have a safe word, and you used the safe word because you knew the safe word.
Mhm.
So he was like, he grabbed my breast. Yes, I did grab your breast. You said harder, sir. Thank you, sir. Harder, sir. Thank you, sir. When I did, and it was it
Yeah.
was the amount of lying that Beth Presswood told is absurd.
Mhm.
I already went into that, but yeah, you wanted to get into the safe word. The safe word was arranged in advance. That's why she knew what it was. It's
Yeah, I think this is
we had been engaged for
important.
hours up until then, right? Before all that
Mhm.
happened, we'd been engaged for hours. You
Yeah, it
know,
was not a minutes interaction like it sounds when
no,
you read the report.
holy
You know?
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you read that report, it looks like it happened in a few seconds. It happened, it was hours.
Yeah.
I have witnesses, signed statements, pictures.
Hmm.
She lied. She knows
Yeah.
it. They both lied. And they
Yeah.
both ruined me. And they both celebrated. And so now I have been rescued by AAI, the greatest atheist organization on the planet. And we're going to save some human lives. And we're going to fix some countries. And I hope everybody goes over to atheistalliance.org and joins and donates. A
Yeah.
membership to AAI is a great gift idea, by the way. If you'd like to show your support, we've got ourselves a non woke atheist organization. We've got ourselves an atheist organization where the executive director, me, and the entire board of directors is non woke, cares about facts and data, and wants to do some good stuff. Does
That's
not
really
want to get
nice.
into all, we're not going to get into wokism at all. We're not going to go into intersectionality at all. We're not going to get politically correct. We're going to go out and we're going to save some lives for real.
That's really
And
nice to hear.
yeah, it's really nice to say, Fanny. It's really nice to say. I have my psyche has been so improved over the past couple of months. It's been amazing, and I've been in analysis for my brain for 4 years now, and it's interesting to watch my brain heal and to figure out why. Because
Hmm.
sometimes things seem obvious only in the background, right? The only in 2020 hindsight, you figure it out in the back. But now that I've come out, and now that people know the truth, now that people are coming back, I don't want to say a tremendous amount, but a chunk of the people who uh, disowned my friendship came back uh,
Mm-hmm.
and reached out to me, and it means a lot. It means a lot when that happens. Um, and the what it has happened, it's really done. It's because I have a guilt shame complex, and because I also have low self esteem, that manifests in me being very externally validated.
Mm-hmm.
And when everybody hated me, and I felt guilty because I feel guilty anyways, um, it was it was a dark time in my life. It was awful.
I
But
think a
now,
lot of people hated that you were in the sub position at some point.
well, I don't understand.
I think what people hated was at some point you were in the so woke and sub position that you were actually saying sorry for something you didn't do.
That's correct.
And I actually, I saw that like it was really difficult to follow because it was just like you meant and you told in the Atheist Republic story, you told then, you disappeared. The thing came out and you vanished. You disappeared. You were
So
like, where did it go? Where is David Silverman? So you were attacked by like some fake accusation and you just disappeared. Anybody that actually wanted like us as fans, we had like no more to go for after David Silverman for a while. So it was like more like a ghost or like this gossip,
I almost
staying around and nobody sure clear about what happened. As
I was
soon
so
as you
dark.
came, as soon as you came and you stood like, hey, this is what happened. I think the real skeptics, I think I'm very skeptic. I really went through and it's like, no, this is bullshit, and I'm already standing and trying to spread the message. But there is a lot of people that are closed by just the narrative of you're a rapist, and they close and like, I don't even want to be friends of him, I don't want to hear about him anymore. The
And if you're
this
friends with
black
him, you're a
woman,
rapist apologist.
yes, and it comes all these attacks. So it's, and you know that most of the people are gonna be afraid, are gonna be in fear, are gonna be coward, they're gonna just, okay, I'm not gonna even talk about this anymore.
Right.
Some
So let me explain that because it's kind of interesting. As I said, I'm looking at my brain as I go through this horrible, debilitating depression. Um, I mean, it was like nothing I'd ever remotely experienced, and it's nothing that I would wish on anybody. I don't want the kind of pain that I was in on Donald Trump. Okay, I don't want human beings to hurt like I did. Um, and what happened was when everything went down, there were only a very few people in my life who stayed. One of them was my soon-to-be ex-wife, who I have to credit because she did well by me. We had been sleeping in separate bedrooms for a while, but she did well by me. She treated me well, but she and my attorney and other advisors, they all gave me the exact wrong advice, and they meant well, and it certainly sounded like good advice at the time. But what they told me to do, looking back on it, what they told me to do was the advice that you would give somebody who'd been caught doing something, who was guilty. Okay, write a non-apology, go dark, disappear, um, don't engage with the accusers at all. Don't engage with the accusers at all. You know why? My lawyer said this. This is a great example. Don't engage with the accusers at all because they haven't filed charges and they still could. Well, guess what? They're not going to file false charges. That's great advice to give somebody if they actually did it. If there's actually a charge, if they've got something on you for real, yes, don't poke the bear. But if they've got nothing, I'm the bear. If they've got nothing, if they're not going to go sit in front of a fucking cop, and say, oh, this is what happened, when I've got fucking witnesses and pictures showing that it's not true. And so that's what happened a couple months ago. I had this epiphany that that wasn't going to happen. And then I realized that I was in this pit because all of these people had told me this advice, which was good advice if I was guilty, but terrible advice if I'm innocent but still have a guilt-shame complex. It's terrible advice for me because I felt guilty and I'd isolated myself from the only possible source of support I was going to get. So I got, the only validation that I got was negative. The only feedback that I got was negative, and I felt guilty for committing crimes that I actually hadn't done. And so I went into a hole that was so fucking deep, Fanny. I went into a hole, well, it almost killed me. It almost killed me. And so when I'm sitting here on this podcast, clean shaven, my hair is combed, I've bathed, I've eaten, I've worked out, and I'm working, right? I'm working with AAI, and I'm getting shit done, and we're rebuilding AAI. We're doing really good work to create a real a momisha organization. You know, they've been around since 1992, but they've been a little shaken recently, so we're going to rebuild them back up. I'm doing really much better. I'm doing so much better. I'm still very, very far from being okay, though. I mean, I'm capable of, you know, working and dressing and taking care of myself now, but there's still a lot of pain. There's still a lot of pain. There's still a lot of sadness. There's still a lot of rage. You could probably see it during this podcast. There's still a lot of anger. There's still, you know, a lot of emotion in my brain over what I've lost and why. But I am back. I am improving. I am growing. I am stronger. I'm stronger now than I was a year ago for sure. Stronger now than I was a few months ago for sure. I don't know if I'm the strongest that I've ever been, but I'm on the right path to be the strongest that I've ever been. I will be stronger than I've ever been. Once I'm fully out of this depression, once I'm fully out and I'm on my way, I'm going to be a very, very strong person mentally. And I can't wait for that.
We're very excited to see that too.
Well, I mean,
mainly the way that you talked about the way that your movement is going now, like a non-woke, non-PC, because I think this is something that holds the movement, and all those intersectionalities that start popping up inside the atheism clashed, split the community we were going. Like, I have followed the communities and followed you and Devon and the big names on YouTube since like 2012, I believe. And I saw growing and then splitting because of the pluses that came. So, and I'm more into like a libertarian and free speech. I think we all are reasonable people that we can hear bad speeches and, people saying stupid things, and we're going to be able to select this with rationality. So I don't
yeah,
think we need to shut anybody down. I think we can
no,
sort around.
everybody speaks.
Yeah.
Everybody speaks. And if you don't like Nazis on stage, don't worry. Put 10 Nazis on stage and me, and I'll take them all down with civil discourse. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You don't deplatform, you stare them down. The reason deplatforming is a thing is because wokeism doesn't like facts. Wokeism doesn't like studying. They don't like work. They don't want to take you down with facts because that makes them admit that there are facts. So they don't want to do the work. They don't have the ability. They don't have facts in their psyche in the first place. But also, they're very intellectually lazy. They don't research. They won't look at my page. They don't want to. So you're dealing with an intellectually lazy crowd, and that crowd is completely avoiding Atheist Alliance International. And so when you're talking about Atheist Alliance International, you're talking about the nation's only woke free atheist organization. We're just going to do atheist work. We're going to help atheists. We're going to spread atheism. We're going to try and hurt religion worldwide. And we're not going to spend any of our brain cycles on wokism. Those folks can bitch about each other all they want. And they can demonize me all they want. And they can point at me and they say, Dave's bad, all they want, because they're all doing it now. All of the organizations, except CFI, all of the organizations, the major ones, have thrown shit at Atheist Alliance International. And you know what? We don't need them. We don't need them. I do not need the atheist community. You turned your mic off. Your mic is off.
I think the truth is important, and the truth will come. Will it is so important that everybody will once be able to see it, even if there is a lot of people that, like you said, is more lazy. But that's why we're doing and redoing, spreading the message, spreading the other videos, and other people will want to talk to you about this and learn more about the cases and make their own decision. I think the skepticism and the fight that we always had, like, by being atheist, is like you just don't follow people by their claims.
Yeah.
It's what the atheism is what the skepticism is. It's like you just don't listen to people and follow them and believe them because whatever they said.
And
We
you
always,
don't.
we're seeking for evidence, and until you don't have, you should remain skeptical.
That which can be declared without evidence can be denied without evidence, can just be discarded without evidence. I mean, this isn't hard. The atheist movement knows how to be skeptical. They're choosing not to. And, they know how to be skeptical. They know how to do this. They're choosing not to. These are skeptics in every other place, but they're not skeptics when it comes to morality. They're picking they're taking the easy road of going with the flow rather than standing up and saying, no, actually, this is wrong. And, as we're doing this, as they're doing this, wokeism is infecting almost every walk of life. If you look at the universities, if you look at, it's affecting STEM classes because science and writing is white man's work. I'm not kidding you. So now we have to talk about power dynamics when we talk about math.
Yeah, unhappily.
This is what's happening.
One of the things that I liked, because Armin was always asking, like, why you want so much to talk about this? And I almost actually commented on the video saying, like, we should talk about this because the truth is important.
Yeah.
Evidence are important. Truth is important. I'm always talking about, like, people should not just, like, believe and follow. And unhappily, we are in this culture war nowadays of evidence, theories.
Yeah.
Like, people actually believe in the theory-based studies. For example, like, for example, what I talked to Helen last week, and a lot of so many new cases of false allegations in all the woke sphere, not just sexism, not just feminism, on
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, on other type of Islamophobia or other type of racism or prejudice. These spheres of woke people that still want to claim there is such a systematic type of prejudice or bigotry coming from white men towards the people that are oppressed. It's just a lot of false accusations and hoax crimes that have popped out recently. That is scary. I think that is a little bit of, maybe the narrative is so strong that there is is such a demand to pop up fake cases to try to prove them right. And of course, like you said, the people that go ultimately to go to the police to report a fake crime, we have seen what happens. So I
Yeah.
think maybe that is the reason they have not report to the police and only to the BuzzFeed.
Well, because they'll get arrested for
They are afraid of
yeah, of course. That's why I'm out here. That's why I could look into the camera and say Rose Sinclair and Beth Presswood fucking lied. And I dare you to file the charges. They won't, because they're not stupid. They're not
yeah.
going to do that. I'm taking back my fucking life.
That's right. So, Dave, thank you very much. I can't say how much I appreciate your time and attention to talk to us and to clarify all this. And of course, give us a little bit on your opinions on this, all this woke, sexism, feminism, atheism agenda, future. How can we support your work? How can we
Thank
find
you so
and
much,
support your work?
Fanny. Fanny, thank you so much for having me on. It was a really nice conversation, and I appreciate it. My website, my personal website, is firebrandforgood.com. Now, on firebrandforgood.com, you can see some of my videos. I've started my own video channel, which is also youtube.com, firebrandforgood. I have a GoFundMe to support my legal fight against American Atheists and the liars who made false police reports, or who made false claims, I should say. Um, the organization that has really exploded onto my scene and deserves a lot of respect and help is Atheist Alliance International. It's atheistalliance.org. Please join Atheist Alliance. And follow me on Twitter. I'm at Mr. Atheist Pants. I can't change that because Stephen Colbert gave me that handle, and I'm going to keep it forever.
It's
But
great.
please go to atheistalliance.org and support us. We are rebuilding the organization. We are building it up. We are increasing. We are growing it in some pretty interesting and exciting ways that are going to save human lives as much as we can. And that beats the hell out of fucking dealing with 10 commandments on the public lawn. We're going to save lives, and we're going to try and save countries, try and change countries. How about that? Trying to change countries. Let's do that. Atheistalliance.org. Thank you so much, Fanny, for letting me come on here and rant a little bit. My heart rate is up for a little bit because I talk about this stuff, but it helps me heal to talk about this and to get things off my chest. And it also helps me heal, Fanny, to meet supporters, to meet people who like me, to people who can still remember the things that I did, and still cares. And so I thank you for bringing me on here. And I know there's a blackball going on. Matt Dillahunty is going around saying that if you have me on, he'll never be on your show again. At least that's what he's told a couple people that have told me that. And so I don't think you're going to have Matt Dillahunty on your show now. And it's no great loss to you because you got me. So thank you so much, Fanny. I really appreciate it. Your microphone is off again.
I hope he's not that serious about that.
Oh, no, he's
I,
serious.
I really appreciate his work. I like very much
I
him
do too.
on the atheist
I hope he
experience.
gets over it. I hope he
I
gets
hope
over
he
it.
gets over. I hope this is just like him being hurt by the friendship trust thing more than anything. I don't think he actually, like you said, if he was like to believe that you're immoral, would be much bigger than that. Maybe it's just more like a
That's
personal.
fine, but that's if he's angry at me for what I'm actually guilty of, he's way overreacting. I'm sorry. They're poly. Okay, and if you're poly, you know that your partner actually owns their body. You don't own their body. He doesn't have the right morally. If he knows this, I mean,
Yeah.
it is kind of misogynistic for him to veto that. because she owns her body and he.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it. If he's so woke, he doesn't have really the right to be angry if he's woke and poly. But let him be
Yes.
angry. But having a blackball against me and having me fired and saying really bad things is
Yeah.
calling me a rapist. That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I
That
think
is
he doesn't
not
know. I think he knows.
there's
I think he
yeah.
knows. And I hope everybody goes to firebrandforgood.com and listens to the recordings
Yeah.
on
Yeah, people.
firebrandforgood.com.
I
You
actually
tell
did
me.
not know.
What?
I know the website, the Firebrand. I've checked on it, but I did not know there were recordings specific about the
Yeah,
case.
it's called
I'm
Set
gonna
the
go.
Record
Yeah,
Straight.
I'm gonna get a check. And yeah, people, please go support David. Follow him on Instagram and the pages, the website, and the community. Probably gonna be sharing this with a lot of the atheist community. So yeah, definitely gonna have a lot of people following and knowing now if they
I
don't
hope
yet.
so. I hope
And
so.
I hope people that are still like not knowing what happened be able to give a chance to this video and learn a little bit more, or
I
just
hope
be a
so.
little curious and go after their own, investigation and be able to make a conclusion instead of just follow these gossips and claims and accusations. It's really easy to shut people down just accusing them of a name. I have been accused of several things, even like white supremacists thing that are clearly not. I'm clearly not white, but apparently I am white supremacist.
You're a male chauvinist too.
Suffer from internal misogyny. So yeah, and these conversations and people open in the community to talk about whatever with no prejudice and trying to seek for evidence and the truth is something that's very important. I very appreciate. And of course, I'm gonna be giving here you my my support and hope everybody here too. People, thank you very much. I will stop the recording if you can just say a few things after that.
All
Okay?
right. Take care, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much and see you guys next video.